Hello, everybody. We are so excited that you're joining us today for another Parent and Family Services Tiger Talk. We have a very special guest with us. We have our campus partners, the Office of First Generation Student Success, and they're going to share some insight with you, some resources and tips, and answer questions that you've submitted on how to support your first generation college student. First of all, my name is Heather Hampton, and I serve as Assistant Director for Parent and Family Services. And I'll let our coordinator introduce himself.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. My name is Cade Forbes, and I'm the coordinator for Parent and Family Services.
And our before we get started, I do want to remind everyone to please mute your microphone and feel free to type your questions in the chat. We have some questions that have been submitted, some questions that we've generated, and we also will address the questions that you put in the chat during this live session. If you're listening after the session to the recording, feel free to email us at parents@memphis.edu if you have any questions based on the information that you hear, or if you need additional assistance, we'll be glad to assist you that way as well. So without further ado, let's get into our special guest here, Miss Jacqueline Rodriguez. Miss Jackie, as we call her, I'll let her introduce herself and tell you a little bit about her journey here at the U of M and how she became the director of First Generation Student Success.
All right. Well, hello. As she said, my name is Jacki Rodriguez. I came to the University of Memphis in 99 and basically never left. So I was a first generation student here. I started my career at the U of M working for the Alumni Association. And the way I became the director of the Office of First Generation Student Success is there was an opening for a scholarship program for first generation students called First Scholars. And I applied to that and I became the coordinator for First Scholars, which we still have today. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. Um, but yeah, I loved working with the students so much. It was great to see, those light bulb moments of, oh, I have this talent, I can do this, I want to go and network here, there. I really enjoy that part of the job. Um, and then we decided that we wanted to broaden the outreach of First Scholars at the University of Memphis. The program did so well. Retention and completion rates were above 90% just through this holistic care model, leadership development, all of it just for first generation students. It did so well, not just here, but nationally, that we received grant funding to develop an Office of First Gen Student Success to make sure that we're serving all of our first generation students across campus. And now the University of Memphis is a national leader in first generation best practices, research, programming, and activities. So it's been a lot of fun to watch the growth here at the University of Memphis.
That's good. Thank you. Such a eventful journey, and I'm glad that we have this office and this resource here for students and families of first generation college students. So our first question is, how do you define a first generation college student?
So you'll see the definition changes nationally from university to university. But at the University of Memphis, it is neither biological parent or guardian has completed a 4-year degree at a public university within the United States. So what that means is, yeah, if you have an associate's degree, you're still a first generation student here at the U of M. If your siblings graduated, you're still considered first generation. Cousins, you're still first generation. If you are an international student, you are a first generation student here at the University of Memphis. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Great information, because I know there's a lot of confusion with that sometimes. A lot of people actually are considered first gen when they really don't even realize it. So
Right.
Our next question, this family member says, I went to college but never graduated. Well, this was just answered. Is my student considered a first gen student? So obviously the answer would be yes,
Yeah.
correct, as long as they're not,
Absolutely.
they did not complete the 4-year. Alrighty, so let's
Yes.
get to the next question. So this family member says, what type of challenges do first gen students and their families typically face?
Yeah, and I mean, I can speak to my own experience and also the experience of my students. We do a lot of one-on-ones, a lot of one-on-one coaching, academically, co-curricular coaching, whatever's needed. Our office is kind of that hub of support. I think some of the biggest challenges, that I talk about day to day with my students are absolutely going to be the sense of belonging. Where do I fit in? What do I need to be expecting here at college? What are the questions that I need to be asking that I don't even know I should be asking? That's the biggest barrier. Like you don't know what you don't know, right? I think, of course, financial aid is a huge barrier. Many of our first generation students are coming in, they're Pell eligible or they need more financial aid in order to, cover the tuition costs. And we do have a lot of first generation scholarships available that students can apply to in Tiger Scholarship Manager. Our office walks you through how to find those and how to apply. So that's an easy outreach if you ever have a student that needs some help finding those resources. But yeah, the challenge is, for me, the biggest one is that feeling of not belonging. And so we try very hard early on in the Office of First Gen to build a community of support. And we do a lot of programming and we do a lot of events in order to bring students in to create that community. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with you that community and that sense of belonging is key for students, especially starting out. I'm so glad that our offices can partner together, particularly when families have questions. You mentioned that they don't know what to ask sometimes, and especially as they're going through that transition process from high school or from a community college to a four-year institution, just lost in what
Yeah.
questions do I have. So I'm glad that we have you as a resource to help those families navigate. So our next question is kind of a overarching question. So what does the first generation population look like at the U of M, and is this different or similar to what you see nationally?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, first generation population at the University of Memphis is actually pretty massive. We're 52.1% first generation, which is definitely
Wow.
one of the higher numbers
Wow.
at public institutions nationwide. It's also why we are in the First Gen Forward network nationally, and we're recognized as a first gen champion campus because we are working with a broad number of students. The population is incredibly diverse. Like I was saying before, of course, international students are first generation. So we're looking at that population. What are those new needs that we have to help support? Where, it runs the gamut. There is no monolith of what is first gen. Anybody can be first gen, and we have non-traditional students now coming in that are first generation. So they're going back to get their education.
Hmm.
And it's a lot of fun to kind of just to know that you're going to meet somebody new every day. And I love that part of it. But yeah, I'd say in regards to the national trends, we're trendsetters. That's the best way to say
I like that. I like the way
it.
you put
Yeah, U
that.
of M's a
Yeah, but
trendsetter.
that's fascinating to hear those stats and demographics at our
Mhm.
campus. 50%. I wasn't expecting that. And then
Yeah,
the fact that you mentioned adult students, which tells me that,
yeah.
the university is invested in making sure we support those students, which Kate, when Kate asked this next question, that kind of goes along.
Alrighty, yeah. So getting right into it, the next question says, how does your office assist first gen students and their families?
I mean, I say this all the time. People probably get tired of me saying it. I mean, my job and the job of my mentors and my other staff member is to unpack and simplify college. And I could go on and on and on about what that means, but it's basic. We simplify it. We make sure that you are coming in and you're on equal ground with everybody else. You know exactly what the opportunities are and what you need to be doing and where you need to go to find this resource or that one. But it all comes down to um, equitable access, to information, to education, to everything that this university has to offer. And that's my goal, is to just make sure every student has a very secure foundation and knows they have a home base if they need it. They can always come in here and ask a question. And this office is, what's good for a first generation student is good for all students. So the door's not closed. Any student can come to an event that's first generation. You can learn anything you want to learn about us. And we don't close doors here.
And I like that. So it's the fact that it's open helps that to promote that sense of belonging because you're, you know, not if you're not a first gen student, you still can build relationships with each other. So it's not just a bubble, so to speak. So I appreciate you saying that. So we had a parent reach out and um Basically, they're overwhelmed. They said, as a parent of a first gen student, I am overwhelmed. My fear is that I will not know how to help my student when they come calling for help. So, what do we tell that parent, and how do we reassure them and give them that support? What do you do in that situation?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is about teaching your student where to go when they do need help. You know, who do they need to talk to? What office is going to be available to guide you and kind of give you that a little bit of hand holding in the beginning. Obviously, we're going to make sure that they are empowered and soar by the time they're moving on up the ladder, junior and senior year. But for that parent, I know what that feels like. I actually have two high school. I have a high school junior and a high school senior, and even though I work in college, it's still overwhelming. It's overwhelming to me, and I know the process. And I
Same.
think, yeah, oh man, it's so overwhelming. But new student orientation is such a wonderful event. There's so much you learn, but as a first generation student, and I know this because I had the experience, it is very overwhelming. It can cause a lot of anxiety. I have sat with parents, obviously at new student orientation that were just absolutely overwhelmed. It's okay. It's okay to feel that way. It does feel like everything's coming at you from every different direction. I say the same thing to the students that I would say to the parent. Let's break it down piece by piece. Like, don't look at the mountain of all of it. Let's see what we can figure out one step at a time. Our office, of course, is always open to the parents as well. And of course, your office is fantastic at that. I know parent families connected me to some families in the past that needed a little extra support. Happy to do that and walk them through just as we have the students. It's a community. Yeah.
I
Hmm.
agree.
Love that. Alrighty, our next question. This parent says, I'm worried that my student will act differently when they come home for break. So how can they embrace for those changes?
Okay, I'm gonna put my parent hat on. They're definitely gonna come back. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's just I think the hardest thing I already know the hardest thing for me is going to be disconnecting from power school. Every parent knows, you're so ingrained in their grades and everything, and then when they go to college, they're a little bit more on their own. They're a little bit more independent. Obviously, you're not looking at their grades every day. That's not the point. I think you just have to be open and honest and just try to have conversations. There might be some doors slammed shut in that case, right? Teenagers, 18 and up, they might not be as open as they are with you right now. But that has to be okay. And you have to just let them have their space at times. But also, if you notice behaviors that are a little different, if you're starting to see grades, if they're telling you their grades are slipping, or you can just tell as a parent, when something's wrong with your child. Um, Try to have that conversation, but also know the offices around campus and be like, hey, keep an eye on the events. Keep an eye on, you need to be looking at that too, because sometimes our children, love my children, but they need a gentle nudge. They need a
Yeah,
gentle
I
nudge
agree.
every now and
Hmm.
then. It's like, hey, you need to go check out this career closet because you need a suit. Go over there and go do that. Did you see this? This is happening this day. Parent and Family, I know, puts out the newsletter, which is amazing. I already see it because my son's been admitted to the U of M. Go Tigers. So that newsletter is so important for you to read, just as much as your children. Make sure you know what's available to them and still help guide them in those directions. Whether they listen or not, at least you put the information out there. And sometimes that's all you can do. But yeah, our offices are here to connect your students and point them towards us. Hmm.
I love that. One key thing you said was have the conversations, and we push that so much with families just because your roles have changed, and I can empathize with the parent too that's, worried about the changes, good changes, development, growth. You can expect those types of changes, and those are good things. But like you said, if you notice some things that aren't so good, knowing what the resources are so you can point them to those resources. We had a mom call just the other day, and she had a similar situation. She noticed some things were happening with her son, and she called and was like, what do I tell him? I think I know, but I'm not sure. And so we
Right.
kind of guided her into, and encouraged her. She was on the right path with her son, and just ended up talking about the counseling center and some of the things that they provide for her son. So she felt empowered. So I
Yeah.
really like that we can come along and support parents in that, when they're feeling a little discouraged. So our next question goes along with pointing students to the right places. So how would a family member encourage a first gen student to get involved and get engaged outside of the classroom?
I think like I just said, you have to know what the events are, where they're at, when they are, and be like, hey, did you look at this? This looks really neat. Um, Students, and I'm talking as a staff member now, they feed off of our energy, right? So if my office isn't getting engaged in homecoming and we're not excited, my students might not know as much about it as they should. So, we're walking in the parade, we're putting stuff up on the walls, we're having a good time. I think you just have to know what the events are. You have gentle nudge, you have to do all of that. I would caution the parents, and I wanted to say this earlier, and it just popped in my head because I see this a lot. Um, High school and college are so different. People say that all the time. Um, but don't panic. I know, like in high school, you get a lot of grades and you start to panic. You see a low grade and you're like panic, 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 panic mode. Oh no, their whole future is gone because they make an F in this one class. It's not like that in college, and for our first gen families especially, it's important that they understand that. Students can retake classes and completely replace that grade. And I think some of the first generation families I've had these conversations with, they don't realize that necessarily. That college is high school tries to make you think college is going to be so strict and so hard and so impossible. It's really not like that, in my experience and in the experiences of my students that I've spoke to. Of course, there's a few classes that are going to give you, there's always going to be that class. But for the main thing, almost all professors are willing to work with students. They're going to talk to you. If you build that relationship, you have that conversation.
Yeah, that's important,
It's
building the
very
relationship.
important.
Yeah.
Like, don't panic. It's not a race, that everybody has to finish at the same time. Give your child, your student, a little bit more grace and understand that if they do have a misstep, we have so many resources available to get them back on track. And there's so many staff available, not just in my office. I'm thinking like student affairs, student academic success, all over the university that can help them get on track and find, their way to graduation and hopefully, a very successful career. It just takes a little bit of time, a little bit of patience. Like in First Scholars, we're not looking for a student with a 4.0, okay? And really the GPA is a 2.5. But every student in that program, once we took that pressure off of them and we gave them the support that they needed, the average GPA at graduation for a program like that is a 3.4. So take the pressure
That's
off.
amazing. Yeah,
Yeah,
take that
take the
pressure off.
pressure off and just add in the support and connect them to the right people, know who the departments are, and they'll be okay. Yeah.
Awesome. One big key thing with that answer, I think, to touch back on would be relationships, not only with your professors, but also with other departments on campus that can
Yes.
point you in the right direction for your future, whatever that may be. I love to tell parents and families and then students that as well. You never know what a relationship with a certain staff member could take you, like, to your graduation or, beyond that as well. So speaking of, well, kind of in the same wheelhouse. So the next question says, what leadership training opportunities are available for first gen students?
I mean, that's not necessarily going to be just through my office. Yeah, we have plenty. We have peer mentors. We do a lot of workshops in First Scholars in the Office of First Gen. I know Trio has some amazing leadership workshops. So if you're not aware of what Trio is, I suggest all of our parents go to memphis.edu/Trio, and they can join that federally funded program for first generation students as well. There's going to be I'm thinking of all the different workshops that I also see through student leadership and involvement. It just depends. It depends what type of leadership they're looking for. Leadership in my office might look a little different. If I'm going to be honest, I'm not going to necessarily have students starting out ready for SGA. They need a little bit more, I would say, training on when they come in through the door. And we do that a lot with First Scholars. We think about what's the basic need. So like, for example, we're talking about career readiness, right? That's a big thing, career readiness. Well, everybody starts talking about resumes immediately. You start talking about workshops, about networking, but on and on and on. The Office of First Gen says, okay, let's think about, well, What are they going to wear? What are they going to wear to the interview? I was a first generation student, so I didn't have access to a new suit or clothing. So we take it down and we simplify. Where do we need to start? What is the first step? And the first step is they need to have access to professional attire. So we created the career closet out of that. And every student, whether they're first gen or not, can come into the office of first gen at their pop-up career closet event and they get a free suit. We had over 10,000 suits that we gave out in September. We just popped up one at Lambeth yesterday. We've served over 800 students at one event, so we know that we can create the resources that students are looking for and that they need. And the great thing about that is talking about leadership training, tying it back into it. The students that were in the office of first gen are volunteering, right? They're setting up the career closet. They're managing the events. They're learning how to event plan, coordinate, budget, organize, manage, all of these things that are the soft skills that all of these jobs are looking for. They're learning in this office by developing resources for other students. So they're also learning, that community service, that civic connection, which we want in all of our citizens, put your hand out and help the person next to you, right? So to
Right.
me,
Right.
leadership training in the office of first gen is always going to be pay it forward focused. So that's the type you're going to get in the office of first gen. You'll see that again in like community, the CSLV office, which is community service learning and volunteerism. You'll see that there. And then you'll see in career services, you're going to get that resume training. You're going to get that professional training at a little higher level. So it changes, there's several ways you can get that. Just depends on what your interest is.
So I would definitely encourage families, nudge your students to seek out those opportunities, and when they see them, to not be shy, to go ahead and take advantage of them,
Yeah.
because a lot of times people are mistaken when they think that, oh, if I have the highest GPA and I graduate with my degree, that I'm set. But there's a whole other layer, many layers of other skills, like you mentioned, soft skills that they'll need to put them, above the competition, and that's what we want to see with
Yeah.
student engagement and leadership training. Several times you have mentioned first scholars, and
Mhm.
so just give the families a little bit of background. What is the First Scholars Program, and how can their student be a part of it or be considered for that?
Yeah, First Scholars is the root of the Office of First Generation Student Success. It's why we're here. We know it's successful. It is the only scholarship program in the nation to still have that 80 student cohort model, First Scholars. So University of Memphis is one of six that started the First Scholars program, and we're the only one left in the nation that still has that full cohort model because of the success of the students in the program. And if you haven't seen it or you want to check it out, you can follow at U of M First Gen on Instagram. And if you scroll down, you'll see the Where Are They Now series that we did over the summer. It shows you where all of our students who graduated from First Scholars are. And it's amazing. It's some amazing stories. To be eligible for First Scholars, it's 20,000 over 4 years. Um, it's a 2.5 GPA. We are looking for students that have, we'd say it all the time. They could anywhere from an 18 to a 25 max is what we're looking on that ACT score. So you have to be admitted to the University of Memphis. So you have to apply and be admitted. You have to complete your FAFSA. And I know that there's some, FAFSA has been pushed back again to December. We'll see how it goes. But last year we did move our deadline back to March 1st. Just keep an eye on that. Right now it's February 1st. But you can find all of this on our website, memphis.edu/first scholars. But yeah, it's a 4 year scholarship program. It has the leadership in it built in. They do network. They help me out with all my Office of First Gen Student Success events, and they will be at Sapphire Awards tomorrow. And I could not do what I do without my First Scholars because there is that volunteer piece. They are required to do 10 community service hours a year. The Office of First Gen is only 2 full-time staff members. So we're talking about like 800-person events. We can't do it by ourselves. We
Right,
lean
and we
very
understand
heavily.
that.
I know you understand that. I lean very heavily on my student volunteers. You see them all over this campus. We saw Gage as one of our first scholars. Gage Ferris is on Amazon Prime for the college tour, talking about his first gen experience. He's one of our volunteers, and I have so many. My peer mentors, Marcus Ashley, Amarani, Felice, Ben, Annalette. I mean, they're amazing. So I couldn't do it without them.
Now you mentioned you mentioned peer mentors, which is kind of goes along with our next question, Kate. I'll read into this. Peer mentors. What is that program? Does it exist within First Scholars, or is it in and
Mhm.
out of First Scholars?
Mhm.
And how can first gen students participate or become either be mentored or become a mentor?
Mhm. So the Office of First Gen Student Success houses the Peer Mentor Program and First Scholars, but the peer mentors are under the OFGSS. So those are well, we're full right now. We have 5 peer mentors. And the way that you can sign up for a peer mentor is you can go to our website, memphis.edu/firstgen. And there's a quick link. You just put your first name, last name, what your major is, and you can request a peer mentor and you can walk in anytime. Like they'll call you or email you the same day and schedule a time for you to come meet them. And we have a first gen lounge in Mitchell Hall 419, which is always open to any student. It's very nice. But they can come in there and meet with a peer mentor, or they can come in and ask about scholarships. We've helped students find on-campus jobs in there. I mean, any and everything. It's just kind of a space to be heard, a space to kind of, I mean, they're putting they do tutoring in there. They've done math in there. I go inside and the whiteboard looks like another language of calculus, and I'm like, oh, I was a journalism major. I kind of hate to walk in there and see it, but but they help each other out in there. So it's kind of it's a great community built through the peer mentor program. But yeah, we do hire students occasionally to be peer mentors. We're full up right now, but when we do hire, we'll put it out through Handshake, which is through our career services website. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So another great resource that that your student could apply to be a part of or, could just benefit from. So our next question is there any opportunity for this person's student to be connected with faculty or staff who are actually also first gen?
Absolutely. So another, because we just keep adding resources, another resource within the Office of First Gen is we've cultivated a list of first gen faculty staff champions all across campus. There's some in every department. We actually had one come out yesterday for Tie It Tuesday. Dr. Stone came out and taught everybody how to tie a bow tie and how to do a necktie. So you're getting that one-on-one care right there with a staff member, a faculty member. But yeah, they're always here. I mean, we've had so many staff come in every day with donations for the career closet. And they all say the same thing through the First Gen network of if a student ever needs anybody, they can call me, they can email me, we can share that out as needed. So yeah, we have a good strong list and community of First Gen faculty and staff champions, we call them. And if a faculty or staff member does want to sign up to be a first gen champion, they can do that on our website too, memphis.edu/firstgen. Mm-hmm.
That's great to know that that resource is available, because that goes back to that sense of belonging and seeing, that it's bigger than just them.
Yeah, and we have
So,
an alumni network too.
wow.
So all the first scholars, they've all reached out to me and said, "Hey, after I graduate, you ever need to connect a student to me?" And we have that alumni is everywhere. We got one student teaching at West Point right now. You got
Mm,
doctors, we got physical therapists, lawyers. I mean, it runs the gamut. So we have a very strong network of
yeah, I
first
was gonna
gen
say
support.
strong network. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's awesome.
Mhm.
So, how can families of first gen students, how can they connect with other families of first gen students? Is there a way to connect? I know through our office, we try to capture contact information and share that so that they can begin building those relationships with each other. Because a lot of times we find, especially during new student orientation in our sessions, that families just, it's always easier when you know that you're not alone and there's another family that or a parent that may be going through or feeling what you feel, or the student has similar aspirations. And so just that connection is important. So, how would you encourage that connection between the families?
Well, for our office, mainly we're going to focus on the student, right? We're going to have events for the students. Now we do certain things that families, of course, can come out to, like Sapphire Awards tomorrow night is our First Gen Excellence Awards for First Gen Week. Families are invited to attend that. The RSVP is closed right now. We've already sold out. We have over 400 RSVPs, but we do have an after party at 7 that is still open that anybody can come to. So if they want to come out tomorrow night at 7 in the UC ballroom, they can. They'll meet all the first gen students. They'll meet all the other first gen families that are there. So there's events like that pop up you need to be aware of by following. If you have a first gen student, you should follow at U of M First Gen on Instagram. You'll know everything we're doing at that point. I think the best way for them to connect to other families is absolutely going to be through your office, because you're going to know the families, and you're going to be able to connect them to me as needed. I think that it's paramount that if families looking for a connection, they definitely need to go to Parent and Family Weekend. When y'all held Parent and Family Weekend, because we were presenting there. That was one of our things, was to do a little workshop, with all the families and talk about first gen. And that's one way to connect to other families and to also connect to the staff that you want to be in front of. Um, I think you just have to be really involved. Go to homecoming, go to the tailgates. You're going to meet those families organically, because they're going to be going and they're going to be checking it out. And
Yeah.
so
Okay.
that's one way to build the family community. And we've talked about, building out some more resources now, from our office to parent and family. And I think that's going to be definitely something we do, hopefully over the break. Give
Yeah.
myself a little more
Yeah.
work with you. But,
I'm
that's the
excited though.
plan.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Whatever we can do to partner and serve more families and connect families with each other and help to build that strong network and that sense of belonging is going to be top priority for us. So we appreciate,
Yeah.
all that you all do. I guess our last question, and you mentioned a little bit of it, is First Gen Week. Just if you can tell the families a little bit about what that is. I know it's an annual event and it's bigger than the U of M. It's a national thing. So what is First Gen Week? And what kind of activities can families expect their students to be a part of?
Well, it started out as first gen day, but I just like to make my life a little more difficult. So it's we decided to do a first gen week. It's a way to celebrate being first generation. For many years, for even as long as I've been, in college, it was kind of seen as a negative to be first gen, I think. And really it's not. It's such a celebration. It requires so much courage. As courage is, you do something even though you're afraid, you still do it. I mean, that's what being first gen is all about. It's going into the unknown and thriving, and they do. So we want to make sure that we just have a full week of activities. Um, we call ourselves a fundraiser. So we used to say that in alumni too. Like we fundraise, but we raise the fund. The fun is there to create the community. All right. So, like, for example, the Jaws movie dive in we did for the semester kickoff. That was a lot of fun, but it was also getting students into the rec for the first time and their first week on campus. Like, this is a resource. This is your community. These are other students that are going to be here. So with First Gen Week, we wanted to broaden that out a little bit more and just be like, okay, what resources are needed? What's a fun event that we can do? And then what's a celebration? So First gym week this year, and it changes a little bit every year, but it's always going to be 3 or 4 days out of the week. So we started with Tie It Tuesday yesterday, and then we also went to U of M Lambeth at the same time. So our staff of two split in two. So we had the U of M Lambeth Career Closet where we gave out free suits to all the students there, and we also set up their career closet so they'd have enough clothing for the rest of at least this semester and maybe next. And then Tie It Tuesday is teaching students how to tie a tie and giving them one for free. So we gave out hundreds of ties yesterday, and the faculty staff champions and EMOC, Empowered Men of Color, helped us. So they were giving tie demonstrations, but also connecting with students. So that's another touch point of not just our office connecting with students, but a faculty member, EMOC. The Dean of Students was there helping students learn how to tie ties, the VP of Student Affairs. So it's great for them to have that touch point with other faculty and staff. So that's Tie It Tuesday. Wednesday, we're doing this. We're having a Tiger Talk right now, sharing out information. It's all about making sure the resources are out there and that all of these families are also aware of, our scholarship opportunities. I will tell you that in January, our students and First Scholars, Opportunity Scholars, and all our other scholarship programs in the Office of First Gen will be calling every admitted first generation student. We call every single one. We do it over 3 nights, and we tell them about First Scholars and other scholarships available, resources like TRIO. We tell them about all of those scholarships and resources, and we tell them the deadline's February 1st. So everybody is getting, hey, I didn't know about this. Well, you're getting a phone call. You're going to get a phone call whether or not you answered or not.
You're
That's
gonna
that's
know
going to
about
be up to
this,
your
right?
kid. But you are getting another touch point. Thursday is Sapphire Awards. That is our big celebration event. We call it the First Gen Excellence Awards. It's Sapphire Awards, blue, obviously. But again, we have over about 400 RSVPs for that. It's plated dinner. And we give out awards to first generation students because what we noticed with first gen, the reason why that exists, um, we noticed that they weren't getting as many opportunities. First generation students tend to work more, so they can't get involved quite as much. So you might not be a frosh camp counselor on SGA, maybe an orientation camp. You might be able to do all those things that you want to do because you might have to work. So we wanted to have an awards ceremony that celebrated, the uniqueness and the experience of being first generation. So we have a grit and grind award. We have, our top tiger award. We have spirit of a tiger. We look at outstanding freshmen, sophomore, junior, seniors, but we also do our campus partner and advocate awards. So those go to our community partners. So that, like this year, for example, we're recognizing American Red Cross because they've helped us with our service project. We're going to go install free fire alarms throughout the city of Memphis in order to, work within our community, get our students connected to their city, but also have that service, that pay it forward piece in mind. We're going to be recognizing Campus Rec because they helped us out. They collaborated with the Jaws Dive In. Again, that event had over 100 people at it, so it's a great partnership. We want to continue. We're going to be looking at Sheila Moses. Her College of Engineering is receiving an award for the work she does, one-on-one with students. It's exciting to see people come together and be recognized. We're also using that as an etiquette training piece. All students that are coming to that, they've been requested to have formal attire and they've been given it. So everybody that
That's
needed a
awesome.
suit has been given a suit from the career closet. And if they need one, they can still come by and get one. So we're training, we're celebrating, we're training. We got a little bit of networking training that's going to be going on in there. The University of Memphis Alumni Association National Board will be there. And the students are going to get to meet all of them. It's going to be a great experience. And then, of course, at 7 p.m., the fancy networking
It's
is
the
gonna transform
right. It's
into
turn up time.
yeah, it's turn up time. Dessert bar. We got Sapphire Sling mocktails. I mean, it's gonna
Oh my
be a
goodness, that
yeah,
sounds
it's
like
gonna be a
fun.
party. So if the parents and the students want to come out at 7 and just see what see what it's like, see what everybody's doing, that's a great event for that. And then Friday we're gonna be at the football game. We're receiving the Ascending to Excellence Award for the Office of First Gen. So then we're gonna turn up again. Go Tigers.
Well, one thing I can say is we are so glad and happy for all the things that you all are doing. You're doing so much and really moving the university forward and the embodying the mission that the university has, the strategic plan, the Ascend, serving our students and families with excellence. And we appreciate everything that you all do and hope that you all can continue to innovate and soar with your initiatives and everything. So we want to thank you so much for sharing all of this information and helping our families to know their resources and giving those tips and that wisdom that you've given us today at the Tiger Talk. So we appreciate you, Miss Jackie, and your staff and your students too.
Yeah, I mean, it's anytime. So if anybody's watching this, later on watching the recording, it's anytime. You can email me. My email is on the website, but you can also just email firstgen@memphis.edu. And I promise you, I cannot stand to have an email unanswered. So you will receive an answer.
That's good. That's good.
Yes, it's a problem. I can't shut down. So there you go.
All right. Well, we thank you for being here. We do want to remind everyone that finals care packages are on sale. So, families, if you would like to purchase one for your student, you can purchase that now on the Parent and Family website through November 24th. That's when it will end. So, right before the Thanksgiving week, we'll close that sales page down so we can process those and prepare those finals care packages for your student. You can purchase one for your student if they live on campus, have a roommate, tell grandma, aunt, uncle, whoever, because it's always a good thing for students to receive that little boost right before final exams when they're probably stressed and studying and trying to finish strong, and this just gives them that little extra oomph and letting them know that their families are thinking about them. So please do purchase one of those finals care packages. And then we want to thank you all for attending. our Tiger Talk. We have some more Tiger Talks coming up. We have one on November 12th with the Student Health and Counseling Center. So we're looking forward to sharing some additional resources with you all. But until then, please feel free to reach out to us at parents@memphis.edu if you have any concerns or questions. Visit our website, connect with the First Gen office on social media as well as Parent and Family Services. But until our next Tiger Talk, we will see you soon and thank you for attending today.
All right.
Thank y'all.